peace that surpasses all understanding. I felt guided to. I've had a few days to review and process and get some rest after I did the share of 4 videos, um, victim, survivor, thriver, and I've had a few days to um, amalgamate all that information and the emotions and the feelings and the sensations that I had doing that. But before we go any further, um, and this is relevant perhaps for a later part in this share, but um, you see this little area with greeting cards and notes and letters and pictures and what have you. Um, I want to address that. It's going to come into play later, and it goes to intimate, personal relationships now. And coming from that place, uh, in my early years of abuse, those periods of time in our life, especially early childhood, forming bonds with our caregivers, with the adults, with our parents, etc. On many levels, I was uh, neglected, or I missed out on that bonding experience with a parent or a caregiver. I.e., my mom was not emotionally available, and I had, in addition to not solely based on my mother's my interactions and abuse with my mother, but I had a very traumatic childbirth, and I ended up being in an incubator for the first year of my life, and so um, there was no bonding, there was no physical bonding, there was no emotional bonding, there was no sense of, and it's really bizarre because I do have these vague, very vague memories of um, being cared for in the incubator, boy in the plastic bubble, man. Nurses reaching into my crib, my incubator crib, um, and having to put their hands through the wall of the incubator to change my diaper. But I have these very vague recollections of those experiences. And here I am in the first year of my life. But anyway, going to those intimate bonds that we form with our parents. Um, and hey, we all we have positive experiences, not so positive experiences, um, and then coming into the experience with my mother, and what it leads me to is there's in more recent years, let's just say over the last 20 years, there's all these diagnoses, and I don't want to label anything, anyone, anything uh, in particular myself. I'm not, but not having those bonding experiences, there is a commonly um, expressed diagnosis for someone who would have experienced what I experienced, and it's called RAD, RAD, reactive attachment disorder. So I had a very difficult, in addition to um, not having those bonding experiences, going into, from infancy into my early pre-adolescent toddler childhood, of having, going into an abusive household. um, this is the example of the adult caregiver in my life, and they're abusing me. So to form a bond or an attachment, or shall I say a healthy bond and attachment with my caregiver, it was virtually impossible. And there is this diagnosis, label, reactive attachment disorder. So in reaction to my environment, I I it was immediate, even as a toddler, young child, et cetera, et cetera, and that carried through my life. I am not going to attach emotionally, intimately to people in general. Friends, parents, father, mother, brothers, sisters, myself. I am not going to form an intimate um, attachment to my own self. So, with that being said, and that kind of leads to sharing this wall of cards and notes and letters and baubles and things that um, these are representations of things of experiences that I had with other people that were bonding, intimate, loving, compassionate, empathetic, generous, benevolent, um, where I had an exchange with someone and they felt appreciative of that exchange, where I could be available for somebody, where I could be available for somebody and help them process their own trauma. And that leads me back to the share. I mentioned something about revisiting myself in my mind, and that wonderful child that I was, with the big heart, and leaning in, as an adult, as a thriver, leaning into my integrity and my character and my purpose. To go back and talk to that child, what I suppose what I was alluding to is that I wouldn't change a thing. I would go back and simply tell that child, there's a reason for all this, my friend. There's a reason. And these are, these correspondences, these cards, these expressions of affection and gratitude and what have you. I wouldn't change one of those experiences for a more pleasant childhood, because I could be present and intimate and connected with some people, and with quite a few people. It's that's where I find my. I get goosebumps. That's great. That's great. Um, that's where I find the joy and um, the expressions and experiences, and where everything that I experienced in my past is relevant now. It's relevant. It's relevant in these experiences, you know. Um, but going to there was something I said in part 4 of those video shares, where I was making reference to some of the very intimate, personal, close friendships that I have now. Um, and there is an aspect I wanted to clarify, something, and I was describing the appreciation that I had for those relationships, and the gratitude that I felt, and I mentioned, and a buttload of pain. Oh, these wonderful intimate relationships cause a buttload of pain. I'm telling you, you guys, I'm telling you, this is so awesome. This is so awesome. So often in the world that we seem to currently find ourselves in, we go into relationships with people, and specifically at this moment, I'm referring to like romantic relationships, and we go into these relationships with a certain sense of expectation and presumption that the person is going to um, fulfill that need, and they don't even know what the need is, and once the relationship has gotten out of the honeymoon stage, and you're mirroring each other, if you're not already in that mindset, that a relationship is going to be challenging, very rewarding, but very challenging too. where these people that I find myself in these relationships with now, we're very open and honest and transparent about our experiences and etc. And we share our pain, we share our joy, and sometimes in those reflective experiences that we have, we mirror something and within ourselves, they express something, they express an experience that they've had, something painful, something joyful, and it brings up an experience for us that causes us a buttload of pain. They're not doing it to be harmful or hurtful to us. They're just expressing themselves, but there's the mirroring of the contrast. There's the contrast of mirroring. They mirror wonderful things that are elevating, and they mirror things in us that cause pain. So in that respect, that's what I was referring to, and that these people, we can, feeling comfortable to say, wow, I found myself getting emotional or angry or whatever, and you had said something, and there's no like, and both sides, like for instance, they, something said to me, um oh, that, what you said or what happened or in that exchange, and I'm sitting there and I'm going, I didn't take it personal. I didn't take it personal, and I actually admired the ability and the articulation and the sense of emotion and feeling that they were able to safely express that. They felt safe with me to express, this is what happened, and this is why what happened, and this is why I responded or reacted or whatever. It's amazing, and to find those, to find relationships that mirror our light, mirror our dark, and we grow together. We grow together as friends and intimate relationships, um, et cetera, et cetera. It's a wonderful experience. One of the other things off that topic, um, it occurred to me in the review process, the aftermath of doing those videos, that I didn't really spend all that much time. I talked a lot about the things that happened to me. Um, you follow? Um, I didn't really express how I reacted negatively. The behaviors and the drinking and the drugs and the depression and the sex worker behaviors. These were reactions. These were reactions as well, but perpetuation of my own abuse, and how did that play out? And I felt like I wasn't being self-responsible or fully honest and transparent. Um, as a child, my reaction, I became what I beheld. I was treated violently, and my expressions when I would feel particularly, you know what? It didn't even matter. It would, a lot of times it would be an impulsive, much in the same way that the abuse that I experienced was impulsive. Out of the blue, unpredictable. Um, the things that I did, for example, animals, animals, cats and dogs and squirrels and fish. There was a river down at the end of my street, you know, and the way I treated animals was very violent, and what I would come to understand, later, being mirrored in my career as a and I did want to clarify that too, a non-licensed clinical social worker, very briefly, at that time in Maine. As long as you were working toward your degree, and you were earning credits, you could practice social work. Okay, so I was non-licensed. I just wanted to clarify that. But the behavior, I would come to learn the common term for it was power thrusting. Power thrusting. This abuse that I was perpetuating against animals, kicking a cat, kind of thing. Uh, it was power thrusting. I felt powerless. I was being abused violently and sexually. And in order to feel some semblance of control and power over my own life, I felt compelled compulsively to hurt others, to hurt animals. That was one example. And I want, again, I want to be transparent. It wasn't that I was just going through this experience and there were no consequences, or what were the guilt and shame and remorse that I began to experience in later years, or the guilt and shame that I experienced and why I drank and drugged so much. The feelings of guilt and shame for those behaviors. Um, and I also mentioned, my experience in school, where I would go to school in elementary school or primary school. And because of the situation at home, I would often go to school dirty, smelling. I wet the bed, which is not uncommon for somebody who's experiencing trauma. It's a protective mechanism. If I'm dirty, my abuser won't want to touch me. So anyway, I would go to school and I would be dirty. I wouldn't be well groomed or very hygienic, and that was an attention point for bullies to pick on me. I smelled of urine. I probably wasn't terribly hygienic. My clothes were probably not clean, and it was a target, I guess, for the kids who would be labeled as bullies or whatever. So I took a lot of razzing um, for that. Now, when I would react to the end, and it happened, um, one, two, it happened a few times, and these were huge red flags to my teachers and the principal and the schoolyard marm. Um, I remember one particular occasion there were three boys, and they were having a go at me because of everything I just described, and it triggered me. It triggered me, and it wasn't. It triggered me to the point of where my reaction was intensely violent toward them, and I remember the event, but it was like a blackout of sheer visceral buildup of everything that I was experiencing at home, my feelings about myself, and this experience that I was having with these three boys. Um, I I completely. I mean, for a primary school kid to have that level of rage and anger and violence, and I beat those three boys. I mean, I took my knocks, but you know, and that was another one of those situations, not dissimilar from the experience that I had with my mother when I was 15. You ever touch me again? You ever tease me again? You ever, and all these the rage that built up and the expression of that rage. Those experiences. I'm basically just owning my part. And it definitely affected me on those levels. But where I found in later years, um, a lot of this stuff had to do with boundaries. Boundaries. What is a healthy boundary? Um, a healthy boundary with my first former wife. Healthy boundaries in my interactions with my friends. um, people that I would become friends with. I really I had no solid, even though I had the example of my grandparents, I had no practical experience with healthy physical boundaries, and this is where I found a great deal of healing, understanding of my own body and what's comfortable for me, and what is generally acceptable as far as physical boundaries go with other people. Treat others the way you want to be treated. And with that, I never became licensed because I wasn't going into this massage therapist. I wasn't going into it for a career choice, um, but I took massage therapy classes and learning healthy physical boundaries, which I quite enjoy, and I still get to practice on my dog. He loves it. He's 13 years old, man. He's getting a little creaky, so I get to continue to practice my you know my modality with my dog, and it's a wonderful experience. Also nurturing and caring for, not caretaking, caring for, nurturing other people. I took CNA, LNA classes, licensed nurse's assistant. I did get licensed for that stuff. EMT, emergency medical technician, certified nurse's assistant. And I took that, and caring for people, nurturing people, um, learning boundaries and treating other people the way that I want to be treated on a physical basis, on a physical level. And what a wonderful exchange and experiences that I was allowed to have in caring for someone, and to express the kind of caring for someone else that I myself would have been in a thriving position for as a child. Um, Wonderful, wonderful experiences. Truly. And hospice, the end of life care, hospice, and doing in home hospice. Somebody is terminal, and to have that experience in someone's passing on, leaving their body, and all the experiences that lead up to it, and the actual passing, and to anoint someone, to care for someone, to comb someone's hair, to wash someone's face, to bring them a level of comfort when they're terminal and dying. I cannot tell you what a blessing that was. But all these other experiences that I've had, and the level of love that I have for these friends that I have, um, it's miraculous to me. It's miraculous. The contrast of what I've experienced, and teaching me what I want and what I don't want, and what you know, to have the mirror and contrast of these relationships. Um, what a wonderful experience about personal growth, um, and these expressions of masculine and feminine, and how we complement one another. Um, just fantastic stuff. Fantastic stuff. Um, yeah. I don't know. I simply felt guided to kind of follow up and address a few things from that victim, survivor, thriver 4-part little mini series made for television. But what a wonderful day. It's totally gloomy outside. We had a mammoth snowstorm, like 2 or 3, and there was like feet of snow on the ground today, this morning. It's rainy and gloomy outside, but I'm going to get myself out there even on a rainy, gloomy day, and I'm going to see what I can do. And but thank you for being here, and just amazing experiences. The depth of, you know, I'm reminded. I'll close on this. The friendships, right? Friendships and love, friendships and love, and oh, I wish I could just do the attachment. I suck at this stuff. Tech stuff, I'd love to do to put a link in here, but if you go to there's a link, Cats and Dogs, Khalil Gibran, Katz and Dogs, Cats and Dogs, Khalil Gibran, The Prophet. And there's two poems in there. One is on Khalil Gibran on love, and Khalil Gibran on friendship. Both intensely resonant poems in my life these days, and I am so grateful. The in the love poem, there's a quote that if you seek love only for the pleasant feelings of love, you're looking in the wrong place, because love is going to thresh you. And I'm amalgamating. Um, and in friendship, don't hold back. If you're going to have a relationship, you show your friends um, the flow and ebb of your tide. Don't just share pleasant moments, share the painful moments. You both grow. And the appreciation that we have for one another in those relationships, and to have those two poems genuinely manifest in my life. I'm like, wow, that's what he was talking about in those poems, because I feel that way about my friends. And perhaps it's just my ego, but I do believe they feel on some level the same way about me. And having friendships like that offers me a peace beyond my own understanding, like the peace that I offer to you, a peace that surpasses your own understanding. Have a wonderful day. I'm out.